Today on Websites Decoded, we're talking about wireframes. What are they? Why are they important? And what role do they play in making sure that your B2B website project is a success at the end of the day? We're going to talk about what wireframes should look like, how you should create them, and the real reason that you need them in your B2B website project. Wireframes are a common concept in website project discussions and the sort of thing that everybody thinks or knows they need, but they might not know why they need them. After all, a website isn't a piece of software where every single user interaction has to be planned for and predicted in order to create an intuitive experience. In fact, websites are living, breathing things that change over time. So whatever you put in your wireframe is not going to be reflected faithfully 100% on your website at some point in the future. But they still play an important role in building a successful, effective website that drives your business goals. So what I want to talk about today is what is the role of the wireframe in creating your website and how can you make the most of that step in the process. Now, all of you are probably familiar with the concept of a wireframe. It's a low fidelity mock-up of a page or pages within your website. Many of you will have seen black and white sketches or grid presented layouts of pages with navigation and boxes for images and text on them. And that's exactly what a wireframe is today still. It's a mock-up of how you think your pages will be laid out. And some of the important decisions that you can make at this early stage are, of course, what will your main navigation look like and where will it be positioned? There's only a few good choices for that, obviously, but nevertheless a decision you make at the wireframe stage. What will your homepage content look like in terms of order, structure, placement? Will you use text with images alongside one another? Will you use columns or cards? Will you use video to communicate your message? All of these decisions can be made on the wireframes of individual pages. And typically, you'll wireframe multiple pages in line with your sitemap or website structure to get a sense of what the complete end product might look like. This is also a good opportunity to make some decisions about how the visitor will journey through the website. So where will the key signposts, calls to actions, and navigational aids outside of main navigation live on the page and help your visitors find, firstly, the content they're most interested in, but then also navigate to other information that they will find useful and ultimately on to conversion. Putting your wireframes together enables you to think about the page, its purpose, the right content to present, and the right way to present it, which is a very valuable stepping stone. But again, it's not to completely and utterly lock yourself into a single way of presenting that information. The role of the wireframe is actually more important when you think about what websites have become and what you need to create in order to leverage the full benefits of the CMS you're working on, give your team editability, but retain a unique and memorable representation of your brand. Websites these days are all building blocks composed out of reusable modules that your editing team need to be able to access, use, and modify with ease. And the wireframing step enables you to identify, because you're not going to be building each page individually exactly as it's seen in design, what are these building blocks that you need to create that produces a reusable set of modules, templates, and sections that your editing team are going to be able to use to create content and publish it over time. So by wireframing all your pages at the outset, or all your key pages, you're able to identify where the layouts you're using are repeated and how you can harmonize some of your pages' requirements to produce a more intuitive and easier to work with set of building blocks that can be used to create your initial website more or less exactly as your wireframes describe, but over time can be used to edit and move away from that original wireframe while still retaining consistency of your brand, the performance of your code, the logical and intuitive presentation of information that buyers will respond to, and keep it easy for your team to work with in the back end. So by putting your wireframes together, you're empowering yourself to create a website that's not only great at the point of launch, but that Every day after that can be made even better by a team that don't necessarily have to have deep design or deep development skills and don't have to go back to the wireframing step just to produce new content. This podcast is brought to you by Blend, the HubSpot website agency. Your website is your most valuable marketing asset, and so it's crucial that you get it right. We're the specialist HubSpot website agency helping businesses create effective, scalable websites that drive real results. See examples of our work and the impact we've delivered for businesses just like yours at blendb2b.com. When it comes to creating your wireframes, there's lots of different ways to go about it, and they don't need to be the most polished thing in the world. They can be created in design software like Figma or Sketch or even Photoshop, or in PowerPoint. I've even seen wireframes in Word before. The most important thing is that you go through a process of carefully understanding what your pages need to achieve and how you can achieve that goal when you go through design and development of your modules and pages on your CMS. In terms of involvement, whoever has the information to determine how your website looks and feels and sounds should be involved in the process. Now, that might just be one person at a small organization, but in larger organizations and teams, we would commonly recommend that you include design and strategy in your wireframe discussions, with support from copy and development along the way to ensure that what you create is supported by and supports both your message and the development process from a code performance point of view. So after choosing what piece of software you're going to produce your wireframes in, it's a case of sitting down together and drawing, frankly, the boxes and the sections of lorem ipsum copy, if you wish, to fill in the blank sheet and build up your pages of your site systematically. It's common to start with the home page because there's easy decisions to make quickly. Where is our navigation? Where is our footer? Doesn't take much effort to decide those. What does our hero section look like roughly in terms of content that we present? What are the calls to action on this page, and what are the supporting pieces of information about differentiation, USPs, pricing, competitors, whatever it is, testimonials? Where on this page does it live? What mediums are we going to use to represent it? And what layouts do we think will support that the best? These wireframes are not carved in stone. You can change and adapt them both as you create new pages and after, to a certain degree, design and development has begun, to reflect your evolving understanding of your needs. After your home page is wireframed, move on to your product or service or solution pages, look at your About Us pages, pricing pages, Contact Us pages, and identify what content needs to be on the page, what order is best for it, and what layout will best achieve the aims of getting a buyer to convert. Once you've got all those wireframes laid out, you can do a number of things. You can flow in mock copy to make them look more like the final product. You can identify which modules are repeated and standardize them to reduce the cost and the effort required to develop and manage them later. And you can then transfer those wireframes into your design team to begin the building out of the design system that will power your site, typically beginning with the smaller, more granular components such as your typography, your button styles and your colors, and then building up to the modules you've described in wireframes to be able to build the templates and the pages that make up your site. With modern CMSs being constructed the way they are, if you were to go straight into design without the wireframing step, you run the risk of hampering and limiting your ability to be creative and to create a unique and memorable website out of reusable building blocks. The end result is more likely to be blocky and determined by the template or theme or framework that begins the design process. By going through the wireframing step first, you are able to harness the advantages that come with a modular CMS, the advantages of editability, reusability, and performance, but also maximize the creativity that you apply to those modules by looking at them in a holistic fashion and deciding what they look like ahead of time in the design process. The wireframing step helps to both harness the power and potential of modern CMSs, but also overcome some of their flaws and limitations in terms of having like a blocky end result because of a templated approach to design and development. Wireframe step helps you get out of those templated look and feel websites and into something that's truly uniquely yours and memorable. Whether you do mobile wireframes or even tablet in addition to desktop wireframes depends somewhat on your primary audience, your objectives, and the team that you have at your disposal. responsivity really means reacting gracefully to the limited size of the mobile device. And a lot of the work that's done at the desktop informs that process. Competent website designers can usually produce very, very effective mobile versions of websites from a desktop wireframe, because the decisions about how to respond to the smaller screen size are rooted often in best practice that they'll have well developed. If your design resources and development resources are not as knowledgeable or skilled about the constraints of mobile or about your audience's device use or characteristics, then you might find it advantageous to produce at least a mobile wireframe alongside the desktop version, so that those decisions are explicitly made for them and you're not leaving it to chance. But at the end of the day, in B2B, an awful lot of our decisions are being made, purchase decisions are being made on the desktop version of our website, so it's key that that is wireframed first and has our attention on it. The mobile version can be driven by that desktop design to a great degree, and there's only certain places on that design where you'll have to make conscious decisions about how to deviate from the desktop layout in most cases. One of the biggest mistakes that we see made in the wireframing step is not taking the opportunity that it presents to harmonize and standardize your use of modules across your website. As I've said, modern CMSs are all modular these days, meaning every page you see is built from pre-existing modules. If every single module you create during your wireframe step is an original creation, not seen before on any page and completely unique, you're simply increasing the cost it will take to design and develop that website and the complexity of managing and editing it later. Taking a holistic approach to both the wireframing step and the design allows you to be creative while still having a high degree of reusability in your modules, which is the best way to ensure the cost of the project is attractive, performance of the code is in line with your requirements, and that your team are able to manage the website with ease without going back to developers or back to the wireframing step later on. Take this opportunity to standardize and harmonize your modules while retaining your unique design, and you'll get the most benefit out of your wireframing step. Other mistakes include going beyond the low fidelity level that wireframes require and benefit from, and trying to get too close to your final design. This is not the opportunity or neat time to think about the real images or even the real copy to some extent. You're focusing on user experience, communication of content, message, and effective and efficient design and development. So keep definition low, keep fidelity low, keep it simple, but do mark up and annotate your designs so that the rest of your team can understand the decision making and the thoughts that have gone into the wireframes that you present them. Your decisions may not be obvious or clear just by looking at a black and white image of what you expect to see on the website. So annotations and notes for your team are really valuable.